Hi everybody, and thanks for joining me today. So I made a lot of progress since my last session. I got most of the Zora link done. Working more today on Link's sword. So, yeah. Very happy with the progress we've been making. It's funny when my work was all spread out for me to take a full picture. The phone was putting a frame around the main Link's face. It recognized it as a face, so I guess that shows the detail is definitely doing well. Yeah, it didn't recognize the other forms, but yeah, his face in the center, it was trying to like make a portrait thing around it, so. Yeah, or it's kind of nice when I was taking pictures of my last project, my iPhone would label it as artwork, which was like, well, that was flattering. But then it's funny because if I took pictures of my guinea pig, it labeled her as a dog or a couple times as a cat. The Google image search recognizes her as a guinea pig, but yeah, my iPhone didn't. But then it might have more limited categories when labeling things, so who knows. Yeah, so we're closing in on 60% here. We're over 58 at this point. Let's just see. Okay, I'll use a longer one because that's gonna travel to the right there, so. Yeah, they keep saying it's gonna warm up here, but it's always like tomorrow will be, barely below freezing, but then every morning we get up and know it's still 20 degrees below or even more. Today with the wind chill, it feels like minus 28 Celsius, so yeah, that's yuck. So, yeah, spring does come, but it always seems to take forever here. So yeah, here we're working on the hilt of his sword. That's why we've got all these yellows sort of in the middle of the blues of the Zora link there. Okay, 37.99. Don't really have any short pieces here, so we will again be carrying and parking. Yeah, I think I made quite a bit of progress because there were some bigger blocks of color. And there's more. It's kind of all twilight to the right. Oops. And there is Romani, the ranch girl, is there, but she's in shadows, so her, yeah, she doesn't use very many colors on her dress because in the shadow there's not as much detail as in the lighted parts of this picture, so yeah, that should go fairly quick from glancing at it. Oh, no, that is not the right color. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, 336 is a navy blue. So I knew that could not be correct. And yet I picked up the wrong one. Okay, so I'm going to have separate of that color. I can tell that. So I started using a slightly modified in my floss organization. I made these little floss cards because I was using bobbins, but I found for the little pieces they didn't really hold them very well. I'd have to wind them, which put kinks in them, which I didn't like. So instead I made these, I cut up an old cereal box and put slits in it, and now my little pieces can kind of go into that slit, and then it's easy to separate them from, you know, the long strands. So I can just, when I need a smaller piece, I can just grab the card and all my little pieces are threaded into it. So then, yeah. And then that way I'm not leaving kinks in them, because yeah, some of the pieces that weren't super short, but they weren't full length either, they were getting kinks in them for being wound on the bobbin. And plus that's just extra time. Doesn't take a lot of time, but you know, it will add up, winding things back on bobbins. So yeah, it's nice. I can just sort of pop it right into the slit and put it away. Makes it a little quicker. Okay, 371. Yeah, especially when I have a lot of little pieces like this one. So there's several, and some are longer than others, and I just line them all up at the top, and then that way I can easily go through them and find what length I want. Because before I was just kind of putting them back in the spot on the tray or in the envelope, and that would mean sometimes when I was searching for a little piece, I kind of had to keep pulling up little strands and comparing them. So this again makes that a little bit quicker and easier. Always looking for ways to do that. Make it a little less work on myself. Okay. Oh, I already had one parked there, duh. If I'd been paying attention, I would have seen that, because it's not like I forgot to mark it on the pattern. Silly me. Oh, blame it on the time change. This is the even worse one when we have to lose an hour. Yeah, I would love to do away with it entirely. It feels like every time we've gotten used to it, it's time to change the clock again. Ugh. Yeah, and this one is also more dangerous. There are more car accidents and workplace accidents and stuff because people are tired from having to get up an hour earlier. So yeah, there's that too. Okay, I'm just gonna see if I want to work there or if I want to go back over to the left again and work my way back out. Well, I guess it kind of works out the same, so. Yeah, sometimes when there's a lot of confetti, I end up doing sort of a lot of traveling back and forth along that diagonal edge, just searching for the stitches that won't close in other stitches. now I'll get to do a bunch in a row. Yes, I don't know if I'll have any zeros for a while, but we're getting close to that far edge. From here, there's 5 more columns. Then it'll be time for the last pass, which is, wow, that went really fast. Yeah, I'm so used to working on ginormous projects that take a lot longer. Yeah, my last project, each pass across the pattern took, you know, a few months. This has been like 2 months kind of thing, so. Whereas that took like 3 or 4 months, so yeah. And then I kind of reach the edge of the diagonal here, so then I'll be moving over to the left again. Oh dear. Oh, there we go. Okay. So then, yeah, again, putting those leftover pieces, just kind of sticking them into the notch there that I made on the my little thread card. Helps keep it a little more organized. Pardon me. Oh, there's another one that's getting close to a 0, but let's see where the other 3 stitches are. Yeah, there's one more is in the very last pass, so we won't be getting a 0 on that one either. Yeah, really excited for the next Zelda game to show up. We pre-ordered it, so. The Tears of the Kingdom, yeah. Ouch. Ooh, try not to do that. Yeah, so I read that it's another sort of open world, non-linear, like Breath of the Wild was, so. Yeah, they keep making the games sort of more and more interactive, I notice. Like in Wind Waker, yeah, you could pick up or interact with almost anything. You could set piles of leaves on fire and
Wrong envelope. I grabbed 3064 instead of 46. Yeah. As soon as I did, I went, those don't match. That's why. Or it was funny, they showed one where you have the big deku leaf that you can, you can flap it to make air currents or whatever. And supposedly if you do it at one of the bats and it hits the wall, it kind of hits the wall and gets this stunned look on its face, like a cartoon, splat. And then it starts flying again. It's quite funny. Like just so much little detail work they put into these things that often people aren't even going to see. It's just, yeah, really cool. Or it was funny, I remember seeing a news story where they had people who did electronics would put like on their circuit board, there was a tiny little microchip, like, a couple millimeters or whatever, and they put Waldo on it. So if somebody was doing repairs and they looked closely enough, they would find where's Waldo? Find Waldo. It was quite funny. It's one of those little things they put in there that, knowing nobody might ever see it, but funny little Easter egg, I guess you could call it. Yeah, or like in Ocarina of Time, if you go underground and leave Link standing still long enough, he shivers and then sneezes, which I didn't know until I was on my like 3rd playthrough of the game. Yeah. And I did not know that that happened. Okay. Oh, we will get a 0 today. Woohoo, look at that. 33.25. Excellent. Yeah, I'm not sure how many 0s I have now, but we're getting closer to a dozen of them, so that's fun. And then I put the envelope back in my master set, and then that means I have fewer I have to dig through. So by the end, that makes it go really quick when you've only got like a dozen envelopes left. You're not going through a lot of color numbers, so it goes, yeah, quickly. My goodness, I am not having luck today. Let us try that again. Here we go. Okay, so. So there's a bit more blues here, and then, yeah, be more of the hilt of his sword, so there'll be more grays, I think. It's like the metal handle, and then the yellow, I think, is reflecting the fairy's light there, because she's yellow. Yeah. Yeah, and then I noticed, looking closely next to it, there's another sort of like brown stick bit there. I don't know what it is. I'm thinking it might be his bow, but I don't know. It's harder to tell. That's what I'm guessing it would be. Okay, so a 0, ta-da! Okay, so 38.40. Yeah, or even like in the Wind Waker, when it rains, you can see the water drips off his clothes. And then if you back up out of the rain into a doorway, his clothes stop dripping. Like just so much little detail like that. Or he leaves footprints in the sand and that they slowly fill back in. Yeah, or I mean, in all the games they put a lot of detail, like in I think Majora's Mask, they showed that when he jumps on the icebergs, they actually react to his weight and sort of, dip down a little bit further in the water. And if you stand on the edge, they tilt and stuff. So they actually have
the physics of it. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Goodness. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's funnier. The little traveling sales guy, I think he first showed up in Wind Waker. My husband and I call him Bert. I have no idea what his name actually is, but he reminds us of Bert from Sesame Street, so that's what we always call him. It's quite funny. Just like we call the little leaf guys ended up being called fungus. My husband said it as a joke, and it stuck. It was quite funny because we hadn't played in years. That's first started in that was in Wind Waker. But yeah, we're playing Breath of the Wild. The first time one showed up, my husband picked up a rock and he was underneath, and both of us in unison said, "Oh, look, it's fungus." And then our son was like, "Fungus?" Because technically they're like little leaf guys, so they're not actually a fungus, right? Just one of those silly things that you say that sticks. It's quite funny. Yeah, or like my husband and his brother, when they were kids, they called mayonnaise monkey look, because in Hungarian mayom is monkey and nays is look. So yeah, so it became a thing. And then yeah, when our son was like 5, my husband said, "Want some monkey look?" And he gets all confused and says, "Monkey look?" Yeah. Is it mayom or myom or something? But it sounds the two words sound very similar. So yeah. Okay. Sort of way down here. Yeah, I kind of ended up with a straight line here. That's just sort of how it worked out when I was stitching the last area. So yeah, I don't normally do that, but sometimes that's just how the colors go. I used to do that before I parked when I stitched by page, obviously, but yeah, so. Yeah, the nice thing about this little thread card system too is I can quickly tell at a glance whether there's any little pieces by checking if there's anything sort of stuck in that slot there. If there's any ends coming through there, then I know there are leftover bits somewhere. Okay. This is a fairly long piece. Actually, let's see what I'm going to do with it. Okay. All right, I'm going to end up with 2 threads here. I can tell that right now. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these 3. park that there. Take a peek here. Looks like something is stuck there. Right here. Oh, I see. Okay. Use my snag tool there. There we go. Okay. All right, so then I'm going to switch to this color here. This is another thread I can see I'm going to carry upwards at least for a little bit. I'll try not to shred my floss there. There we go. Yeah, I think these 4 here might be all we'll get out of this thread. Yeah, that's all I'm going to get. So I'm going to tie this off. That went down a little wonky. There we go. Doesn't want to disappear into the fabric like that. It crossed over it. There we go. Yeah, I find it's a little less secure if you don't get it to go right down the center properly. Plus, it could show through more easily. Okay, so back to this thread, and we're gonna do those ones, and then park. Yeah. Okay, this is a long piece, but it would leave a fairly long carry, so I think I'm gonna tie this off and I'll restart this color later. There's nothing, no, further down, so. Okay, let's take a look again. I have this one that works because I made this bobbin years ago when I was a kid out of an old tea box because I was too cheap to buy more. Yeah, that was when I first started this hobby, and you know, all I had was like paper route and babysitting money to buy supplies, so I had to cut corners everywhere I could. Oh dear.
I find the old plastic bobbins, the slits are bigger, so it doesn't like to hold the thread unless you wind it, so that's why I switched to cardboard. But those old cardboard ones, yeah, the slit is still snug enough that it grabs the thread and holds it securely, so. There's some bigger blocks there, but quite a lot of confetti around it, so it's going to be a while. I think my next session you might see more bigger blocks of color. As I get to the top of the next diagonal, there's more bigger blocks up there, so yeah. That part will go quite quickly. So I say by the next session, I'll probably be past the 60% mark, so woohoo. Okay, 317. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're gonna need more than one thread here too. Yeah. Yeah, it was funny in the Breath of the Wild, there was one side quest where you had to help someone in the in your hometown put away her pumpkins. And she'd give you a stack of like 5 of them, and it was really hard to move because they would shift, and if you did, then the pumpkins, the top ones would fall off and you would lose. And we had to do that that challenge so many times before we passed it. My husband said, you know, by now she won't have any pumpkins left. We'll have smashed them all. Yeah, or there was one where, you know, and they gave you a piece of heart. And then there was one where she asked you to clean up, so you had to use this tool that blows air. And, like, it's knocking all the stuff off the table and, like, breaking the, you know, the flower pots and things like that. And then afterwards she's like, oh, thank you, that was so helpful. I'm like, wow, really? You know, we smashed all your stuff and you're still happy? Yeah, it's quite funny. Because, yeah, that was in, you know, in a lot of the other
games, the earlier games, you could break into people's houses and, you know, smash all their pots and steal their money, which, you know, I said some hero, right? But then in one house in the Wind Waker, if you break the guy's, he yells at you. You know, he yells like, "You little weasel," or something. And then when you go to leave the house, he takes a bunch of your money because he says, you know, if you break somebody's things, you should compensate them for it. And then, yeah, you maybe got like $20 out of the vases you smashed, and he and then he takes like, you know, 100 rupees from you or whatever. So it's like, yeah, that wasn't worth it. Yeah, it's funny because, you know, we always joked about that. Nobody gets mad at you breaking their stuff. And then, so then finally someone did. It was like, we used to say, you know, in earlier video games, the underwater levels, like the guy never drowns, right? So unrealistic. And then I remember when Sonic the Hedgehog came out and he could drown. And then it was like, man, we shouldn't have said anything because that made it so much more frustrating because, yeah. Sort of every minute you either had to surface or you had to find this thing that was producing bubbles so that he could use one to breathe with. And the bubbles didn't come up as often as you might like, so you'd be sitting there and the music is sort of getting faster and faster with the "you're about to die," you know, and you're sitting there like, come on, waiting for the bubble to come out. And of course sometimes it was just a second too late. Yeah. And Sonic drowned. It was like, so frustrating. Yeah, I found in like Super Mario the water levels were so frustrating because he drifts. So you have to swim constantly, and then if you stop, he starts drifting around, and it was really hard not to like hit the jellyfish and something and stuff like that. So I was not good at those levels. Yeah, unless you had the frog suit. Although I don't think that one was until the third Mario 3 or something like that. Yeah, and then that way you could just move around on the water as if you were like walking on land. He didn't drift and sink and stuff. Oh goodness. Oh, look at that. My gosh. Oh, what a mess. Wow. Let's see if we can get this to... Okay, I'm gonna find my tweezers here, if they're still here. Ah, yes. Oop. Okay. So sometimes when this happens, I'll take my tweezers and kind of hold it here close to the fabric. This way I can pick at the knot without disturbing the holes in the fabric, but this one might be just not happening. Because yeah, if I pull at it, just... Let's see if I can get my needle in there. There we go. Yeah, because if I, you know, ream on it, it could pull and distort this hole, so that way I make sure that the counter traction is only affecting the knot and not pulling my fabric all askew, so we don't want that. And there was too little of a piece between the knot and the fabric for me to be able to grip it with my fingers. So yeah, I find the tweezers are really helpful for that. I also like to use them sometimes to help pull out bits of pet hair because I find it's hard to get a good enough grip with your fingers. Okay. Yeah, it was funny actually. Someone had a picture of somebody was wearing like a Link costume at the hardware store. I'm guessing it was like Halloween or something, and they were in front of the flower pots, and so somebody, you know, captioned it like, "Oh, they're going to need a cleanup on aisle 3." Okay, 939. so as we get further away from the ferry, things in this are going to get darker and darker colors as we get more into the shadowy area. Okay. Well, I was hoping this piece would be long enough to carry to one of those stitches, but no, it is too short. Yeah, well, all good things must come to an end, right? Right, so I decided on 2 threads for this. Let's see if I can get this too. There we go. I'm actually going to do these 3 as well. Might as well. I could have done them to start sort of the next thread that will be down here, but doesn't really matter. It works out pretty much the same. They're both sort of 1 stitch away, so. Oops, my gosh. There we go. I could end up with 2 threads of this color too, just because of the way it's branching off. Yeah, once again, this is taking me a lot longer to get to 100 stitches because so much confetti. But we will get there eventually. Okay, another one parked out of the diagonal. All right, then here's where I decided, yeah, I was going to add another separate thread. Just pull a new full-length piece here. Goodness. Let's try to do that without making a hash of it. Making a mess here. Okay.
Usually I can pull one pretty easily, but I don't know. There we go. Okay, so let's put that there. Oh my gosh. Okay, fine. I'll go the other way. Yeah, it's harder to get it to come through neatly when the thread is, or the hole is full of other threads. So sometimes going the opposite direction can help. Okay, let's take a look. This other one I have part. Just make sure it's going to be enough for, yeah, okay. So, yeah, I think I may actually just tie this one off. It's fairly long to carry it there, so yeah. And I have a fairly long other one parked down that I may just carry over to the right. It's a bit closer, so that's just, yeah, what seems to make more sense to me. Uh-oh. I think I grabbed the wrong thread. Oh, I freaking did, didn't I? Yeah, I grabbed this one. As soon as I went to put it back in the thread card, I realized it didn't match. Silly me. Yeah, I did it here. So I should have carried that to the right and I ended it off, but oh well. Yeah, my bad. That's okay. I'll start a new thread that time. Yeah. Silly me. That's what I get for not double checking with my grid lines. Okay. Yeah, okay, this was a short one, so it's only long enough for this one stitch anyway. Okay. Yeah, I must not be fully awake yet. Oh, goodness. Fortunately, the thing is, even though I picked up the wrong thread, where it was parked, it was where it needed to be stitched anyway, so it's not like I stitched it in the wrong place. Okay. Yeah, I was kind of confused because I thought I remembered that the one parked up here had been shorter. And then I thought maybe I just misremembered it, but no, it's because I grabbed the wrong thread. Silly me. Must have put this envelope back in the wrong place. Okay, well, I'll search for it later off camera. Yeah, so what I'll do instead is I'll come back down and work there a bit. And later, after I'm done this session, I'll go search for that envelope, which I know has to be here somewhere, but I must have put it back in the wrong tub or in the wrong place. I probably put it in like the 38, 33 instead of 36, 33 or something like that. Yeah, I've done that before. Sounds like some birds are back, so I mean, I guess spring must be coming, but yeah. Here it always feels like it's gonna take forever to actually get here. Okay, that one and that one. Well, we finally broke 100 stitches. It doesn't look like a ton of progress in this session, but hey, slow progress is still progress, right? Yeah, that's what I always tell myself. This thread has to kind of jump around a bit to keep from closing stuff in. It's not even lunch yet, Miss Buster. Actually, I'm going to do these ones first. Yeah, I know. I'm almost done. I'll give you your veg then. I talk to her as if I expect her to understand me. I don't know. I guess they understand some of what we say, right?
so I did that so that I could stair step all these ones at once. Try not to snag it there. Okay. Yeah, see, I was going to feed her, but I mean, it's not like she's going to starve. She's always got hay in her pellets. It's just she wants the fresh veg, but yeah, you have to be careful not to give them too much or they get stomach upset. Yeah, kind of like fish where you have to be careful not to overfeed them or they'll eat too much. Okay. All right, so a bunch of these are all out of the diagonal, so I'm going to set them aside, I think. Yeah, I will use them when I do my next session, or my next diagonal pass downwards. Got a lot of threaded needles here, so there we go. See if I could get it out or not. Sometimes I can and sometimes I can't. But this time it decided to cooperate. Oh, I meant to park that. There we are. Oh, look at that. Only one of them stayed threaded. That will not work. I love that when I run out of thread at the same time as I run out of stitches. Okay, if I do 2 more, that will give me an even number to end on, so that's what I will do. Oh yeah, like I said, there's a lot of, there we go. Generally, if you pull them out carefully, gently, without trying to do it too quickly, you could usually get it. If you try to, I learned the hard way, if you try to yank them out too fast, then, yeah, they get tangled. All right, there. So 130 even. So as usual, thank you so much for joining me today, and hope to see you here again another time. All right, thanks everyone.